Hey everybody, how's it going? Hey, I have a question. Why do video games get blamed for every single problem in the world? It's like back when Elvis and the Beatles started to get super duper popular. Rock and roll was the thing that everybody was terrified about. And by everybody, I mean more ignorant parents and very small clumps of people that have the power to influence ignorant parents. It seems like I can't go a whole week without seeing some article about how video games somehow promote like violence, pedophilia, elitism, sexism, racism, and even virginity itself. All of that is being said while I'm here playing Kirby's Epic Yarn and I'm like, What? Since when? I don't know about you guys, but I am terrified of weapons and violence in real life. I have no interest in kids whatsoever, and I don't mind playing my video games on super easy baby mode. I have a crippling weakness towards pretty anime ladies, and I'm pretty tight with all other races in the world. I don't have any problem with any of them. So all of these people talking about how video games are so scary and our kids are being corrupted or whatever, I honestly have no idea what the hell they're talking about. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes even gamers themselves who claim to love video games so much, they do nothing but complain and behave like probably one of the most cynical and joyless people that I know. Which is ironic because the industry essentially focuses on products that are about escaping from your problems and having fun. Well, in any case, I think it's time to tip the scales and talk about video games in a positive light for once. That's what inspires me to make this list. So here are 5 positive things about games in no particular order. As a matter of fact, I'll show you that by just going from lowest to highest as opposed to, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That kind of implies superiority over the other. So let's just start at 1. Number 1. Hand-eye coordination. Probably the most common excuse that you will ever hear in favor of video games, especially if you base your entire worldview on the television shows and cartoons you used to watch as a kid, because that was the primary place that you would hear it, at least for me. Every time I hear the word hand-eye coordination, I see a screenshot in my brain of Josh from Drake and Josh saying that in one of the early episodes. And yeah, that's like early Drake and Josh, with like pre-time skip Fat Josh, as opposed to the current post-time skip Shippuden Ninja Master Devil Trigger Josh. But I digress. This is not something that the media just made up, or something for a college professor to, walk up to you and be like, oh, well, that is actually a myth and not that true at all, like 99% of what they teach you in college. Seriously, as a small aside, isn't like high school, college, university just like this infinite marathon of like, hey, that thing that the TV taught you is actually full of shit and you shouldn't listen to that at all. The truth is this completely opposite and different thing from what you thought. So like, yeah, it's like that song from Ren and Stimpy. Everything you know is wrong, and college proves it to you. But anyway, this is an actual true thing. There are a lot of articles out there showing a pretty good correlation between playing games and improving your body in terms of, motor skills and reflexes, learning capacity, attention span, and a legit good bunch of other things that I didn't even think about, honestly. And that's just talking about brain power and moving your hands. We haven't even gotten into the exercise type of playing video games. After the Nintendo Wii, motion controls and adding a gyroscope to literally everything was the biggest thing. So getting up and actually moving around along with the game was a good way to burn some calories for some people. A really fun example is the typical old man playing Wii bowling or Wii golf and whatnot. Of course, who could forget about the Xbox Kinect as well, where you were the controller, right? Moving around, playing some iconic games like... Anyway, if I can give a personal example, I remember using my iToy on PlayStation 2 when I was a little kid, playing like that Karate Man kind of minigame where you keep like, flailing your arms around like you're trying to get rid of a fly that wouldn't go away. Or that Kermit the Frog gif, yeah, that was most of my time playing iToy as well. We also had the Wii with the Wii Fit, and then the Wii Fit U that had a ton of different mini games that really got you moving. They were really fun. I mean, as long as you can stand up and do some stuff like that already in itself was pretty good. My favorite part of Wii Fit was also when I would weigh myself and the game would always call me fat and that I'm never good enough and that I'll never get a girlfriend that loves me and that all of my friends will abandon me because And now that we have virtual reality added into the mix, we can play games that let you move around a lot. One of the games that I've been getting into fairly recently was Hollow Ball. And Hollow Ball is really fun. I mean, just imagine like Wii Tennis, but in VR. Is you playing essentially squash against an AI. And my god, you know, kind of like Diablo in Part 5. You make me sweat. It's a very simple game, but it's super duper fun, and yeah, it really gets you moving. Speaking of moving a lot, Dance Dance Revolution, that's the #1 sweaty boy game that exists out there. If you want to lose some weight, then you gotta start playing like this. It's like you have an infestation of cockroaches and you have to kill them all in like less than 5 seconds. So I could go on and on over how you can lose weight with video games and how you can develop reflexes better than like a character in the Matrix. My point is that video games are capable of legitimately helping people. And I haven't even gotten into the whole thing of, you know, disabled people being able to play games with like special controllers and stuff. Like, yeah, it's a whole world. It's not just something that Josh Peck said in a sitcom. It's like a legit thing. So you can point and laugh at a fat guy for playing video games and make, you know, really bad assumptions about them. What you don't know is that true epic gamers look like this. Hysterical! Number 2, direct interaction with the world. One big thing that video games have over books, movies, comic books, and stuff like that is the direct interaction that the player has with the world that they are in. You could be watching a film and no matter how many times you watch it, the outcome will be the same. You can be on your 10 millionth watch through and it'll be the same camera angles, the same voice actors saying the same things. You can't see any, you know, alternate possibilities or different endings or anything like that. You know, as soon as it's made that way, that's what it's always going to be. However, with a video game, you are the action movie star. You are the one that is pushing the story forward with your decisions. And nowadays, there are a ton of games that have multiple endings and stuff like that, like good guy routes, bad guy routes, neutral routes. So not everybody is going to have the same experience. It all depends on how you want to play. Now, there are some games that only have one possibility that are fairly linear, that do kind of play like a movie. But even then, the pacing and how much you want to take your time with certain levels or how good you want to be at them, that's all up to you. I'm not necessarily talking story, even from a gameplay perspective. You can kind of decide and do whatever you want, you know, as slow or as fast as you want to do it, you know, speed running being one. And again, bringing virtual reality back in here, now that that's a thing, you can feel like you're really inside the game, which allows you to interact with the world and the people in even more ways that are brand new and fairly unique. Or maybe not, but it's just a totally different feeling, like actually doing it in VR as opposed to with a mouse and keyboard or with a regular gamepad. It's kind of like watching the Fat Albert movie, but instead of Fat Albert coming out into our world, it's the other way around. It's us. We are in Fat Albert's world. And we can never get out. Number 3, more unique stories. Now that video games have grown and been around for quite a while now, we are able to have different forms of storytelling that other mediums can't do. To be specific, games that are about games. Good examples of what I'm trying to get across is the Stanley Parable, the Beginner's Guide, Undertale, and a whole bunch more that I probably haven't even discovered or played yet. Games that take full advantage of its own medium by creating narratives that have the player be an actual character within the world that they are playing. Undertale is a perfect example of this. You're not necessarily playing as someone else, you know? You're just changing their name into yours and you're role-playing as that guy. Not really. Like, no, you, the person right there, you are a big component of the game functioning in the way that it should. It's storytelling that is not possible without the player input. And yeah, you know, somebody could make an Undertale movie or have like a Mass Effect Netflix series, but it just wouldn't feel the same, you know what I mean? Because it's a movie, you already know that it's going to be a linear and fairly limited path, right? It probably won't explore or do any of the things that you were doing when you were playing the game. That's why most video game movies suck, because they forget that very important component that make those games great to begin with. The player. It's far more enjoyable playing a game knowing that you are the one that calls the shots for whatever happens in there. And now that technology is so far advanced now, all of these video games practically look like movies now, so why would you want a video game movie? Like, usually the game is better than any movie they could ever make. Or just watch Metal Gear Solid 4, the game is practically a movie with occasional gameplay. It's kinda like a choose-your-own-adventure book, but, you know, propped up to the next level. Number 4, it can bring people together. If you were a very nerdy person during your childhood, like the 80s and 90s, or if you are that very person right now growing up, then you'll probably relate to this point the most. I know I do. I was born in 1994, so I was still growing up in that age where, you know, liking video games, liking anime, all that stuff, that was the most uncool thing you could possibly do. So, understandably, trying to make friends was fairly difficult for me. But now I'm happy to say that it's not really like that anymore. In fact, it's easier than ever to make friends based on similar interests, mostly over the internet. And this is especially so for video games, because now you can play online with people. You can create bonds with others from all across the world. You have communities like forums, you got Facebook groups, or you can even join a Discord that is dedicated to either one game or a franchise or an entire genre of game. It is that one connection that you can have with another person that will create a friendship that will last you a long time. Or maybe even your whole life. I don't know, video games haven't been around for that long. Maybe someday those relationships could transfer into real life and then have that amazing feeling of meeting up with somebody. You know, live action right there and like at a convention or something like that. Oh, speaking of which, that's another thing. Video game related events where people can get together and get to know each other and look at awesome cosplay and stuff. Events that just surround our passion and our love for games. You have the obvious competitive stuff, right? Like tournaments, you got Evo, award shows, collaborations between content creators. If you're someone like me that makes video game related content, then, you know, you can contact someone else and you can bond through that by working together. You can do panels, you can go to places like E3, PAX, and many other more like smaller local places, maybe in your city that you don't even know about. And that is just the social aspect of games. We're not even talking about like the emotional stuff and like the sentimental value that video games can grant us. This can happen when the context inside a game is something that you can relate to, and by extension, you can relate that to each other. I've mentioned a million times on this channel how The World Ends With You was the biggest part in getting me through one of the worst years of my life. And I'm sure all of you people out there have that one game that does that for you. Whether it's an online game that allowed you to connect with people from very far away, or a single player experience that resonated with you in some way. I mean, for God's sakes, I've had old high school classmates from years ago. I've been able to reconnect with them again by building houses in Minecraft with them and being on voice chat and being like, hey man, how you doing? It's been years. And I see their little blocky avatar being like, yeah man, I've been good. And obviously, you have seen those articles of people getting married on like World of Warcraft and stuff. Companies that have been created like the Yoxcast, right? Like two dudes that just had a lot of fun playing World of Warcraft and Minecraft, and it exploded into this big thing. Like, you know, these things do happen. This wide range of possibilities and emotions, the possibility for connection is a phenomenon that goes beyond just having fun with the game. Most people will tell you that games are only about having fun.
If it's not fun, why bother?
And I do agree with that to a certain extent, but in my opinion, that's giving games way too little credit. And I think it's far too limiting for a medium that has proven a long time ago that it's capable of so much more than just that.
Not every game needs to convey fun. The interactive medium can convey so many emotions through its gameplay, and although fun is a very important part of that interactivity, other feelings are just as important.
There we go. Could not have said it better myself. And finally, we have number 5, diversity in a good way. Just hear me out on this one. When I say diversity, I don't mean it in that political way that we have grown used to. When most people think diversity, they think about having more genders and skin colors and pretty much, you know, those two things. And while there's nothing wrong with wanting that, I do want to take that idea and push it one step further. When I mean diversity, I mean there's literally a game out there for everyone. It doesn't matter who you are or what you're asking for, you know, what your preferences are. They could be hyper-specific or it could be so generalized. There will always be something out there for you. Do you like shooters? We got those in both first and third person. How about platformers? We got 2D and 3D platformers. We even got platformers in VR. You like to play alone? Have a single player experience. You want to play with a whole bunch of people? We got party games and even MMOs. How about puzzle games? There are a ton of those. Want to get married in World of Warcraft? You got it. Even real life games like chess can be found as video games. Play the chess against the Grim Reaper? I don't know. You want to play a game that's based on that movie you like? You got it. You want to play a game that is based around an anime that you like watching? Oh, there's a whole bunch of those. You want to get scared? We got a bunch of horror games. You don't like getting scared? We'll play nice, fluffy, and cute games like Lovely Planet or, you know, Hello Kitty Picross. I know I did. I completed that whole thing. You want something violent? We got Doom, Dead Rising, and a whole bunch more. Maybe you don't want any of that. You want to feel the excitement and adrenaline of competition. Then maybe I can interest you in some sports games, or fighting games, or esports like Dota and League of Legends. There's a whole community of people dedicated on just getting good. Speaking of getting good, if you want to challenge yourself, there's a ton of super hard games you can try and defeat, like Cuphead or Dark Souls, and that's just like officially made games. I haven't even gotten into like mods, you know, like Super Kaizo World, or if you want to do the baby version of that, you can do Super Mario Maker, you know? Or maybe not, maybe you just want to chill out and relax, building a house in Minecraft, or just flying around as flower petals and flower. Or just go out fishing in the world of Final Fantasy 15. Perhaps you want to lose yourself in a really good story, like a visual novel. There are tons of those, with many different genres to look at just for visual novels. Oh, and did I mention that all of these games are possible in virtual reality, or on a phone, or on a portable console? Speaking of which, maybe you don't care about any of those things. You're all about the past and checking out older games. Well, there's an enormous community on the internet dedicated to collecting, archiving, and simply enjoying the retro side of video games. Or maybe you don't give a damn about any of that, and you just want a very simple thing. All you want in life is to punch Justin Bieber in the face. Well, there's a game for that on Newgrounds. It may be fairly simple, and maybe just, it can be like a 2-second flash game, but it's a game, and it exists, it's out there. So I could go on and on and on for days on end, but the point is this. If there's a game that you want to play, no matter what it is, you're gonna find it. That is exactly what I find so magnificent and beautiful about video games. How diverse it is, how literally anybody, big or small, old or young, can get into it. So to wrap up this video, if there's anything that you can all take away from this, at the very least, let it be the following. Don't waste your time fighting. Wasting your time with drama, giving attention to people that don't deserve it, doing stuff like like throwing crabs at people, and generally just blaming video games for your problems. Video games were made to entertain you, you know? To be there for you, not to be against you. And I know that there are some bad apples out there, but it's as easy as just not playing them and not giving them the time of day. I'm sure most of you watching this video have an enormous library on Steam that you haven't even touched like half of it. So if there's any game that you want to fall back on, if you're bored one day and you got nothing to play, then maybe go and go dig through all of those other games. I mean, the world is your oyster on that one. I'm sure you'll find something that you like. I mean, you bought them for a reason, right? Just forget about all the bad vibes and take some time out of your day to play your favorite game and remind yourselves of why you're even here right now. Remind yourselves of why all of us have been brought together today, because we love video games and all of the good that it can bring to the world. At least that's what my script says. I wrote that and I believe it. And remember, there's always something out there for everyone. And if you can't find that one thing that you want, well, I think that would be the perfect opportunity to start making it yourself.